Until Valve implements its own categorization and potentially some sort of role lock, there are only two roles that actually matter. Hello ladies and gents, I'm the Dapper Rat unless the IRS is asking, and today I'm going to break down the roles of Deadlock. I tend to call them carry and support, like many others, but the real definition is this: those who need more souls and those who need less. That is practically all the information you need, but if you wish to humor me, let me explain myself. Others try to fit the heroes of Deadlock into their own neat boxes they've gathered from other games. The fact of the matter is that Deadlock is still in its infancy, and so it's far more productive to treat heroes as their own standalone identity. Thus, the spectrum that affects all, soul count, is the only effective categorization. Of course, this overlaps with other forms of identifying roles, and that's because it's quite a broad stroke, but it's still specific enough to give you insight on a character. Anyone who mains a hero should be able to clearly plot said character on this spectrum. Heroes like Infernus are quite squarely put on the carry side. If they don't have souls, they're pretty useless. In turn, these characters can often 1v6 when they have said souls. Alternatively, a character like Dynamo has essentially no meaningful spirit scaling and little proclivity towards shooting a gun. However, his abilities upgrade monstrously with boons, meaning getting the bare minimum will still make Dynamo incredibly effective, thus making him a support. Then, as I said, it's a spectrum, of which you can likely place the character you play somewhere between Dynamo and Infernus. Characters near the middle tend to have 1v6 potential if they do become fed like a carry would, however are still able to output some sort of value if scraping by with the bare minimum as a support. Finally, as the match progresses, some characters can shift. This is due to power spikes, a point in time in Souls when a character is one of, if not the strongest character in the game. Pocket has a pretty scary early game, being a literal glass cannon. Then they should become fed like a carry towards the mid game, where they become practically unstoppable. Afterwards, the value of their kit outside of the ultimate tends to teeter, placing them in more of a supportive role as you press into the late game. There are other categories and names that people often box characters into. Paradox is a pick initiator hero, Abraham's a tank initiator, but these labels as categories are pretty inefficient because they don't explain much of how the character is or could be played, as some characters have multiple playstyles depending on build and which abilities you prioritize. These descriptors are, well, just that, a description, adjectives to kind of tell you a character's identity, their most effective tactics, and their diversity of builds if they have it. Both Bebop and Mo and Krill are slapped with the pick label due to their kit leaning towards picking off a single opponent. The thing is, this pick label tells you nothing of how these individuals use it, and just so happens Bebop and Mo and Krill tend to be opposites in how they pick off opponents, meaning it works as a description but not really a category, as there's essentially no transferable skills when it comes to picking off characters. And that's why the only meaningful categorization is this soul count spectrum. Now then, feel free to call me an idiot in the comments below and tell me why you know better. After all, I am just some rat. If you enjoyed watching, then consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. The playlist on the left will teach you more about Deadlock for those looking to improve, while the video on the right is statistically the video you'd enjoy the most according to YouTube and its creepy data scraping robots. I've been the Dapper Rat, thank you all for watching, and as always, farewell ladies and gents.